If you have any Magic cards you're really enjoying, any of your Commander decks right now, or if you're just hot on any cards, or if there are any cards that were spoiled you want to chat about, please put them in the comments. I'll pull them up over here. They'll be put into a Moxfield deck list, even though we're not doing a deck today. And yeah, you can vibe with me. We can chat about cardboard. Thanks for being here with me. I am BGM. I'm going to send out not an invite. I'm going to send out a Instagram notification. So the homies on Instagram know to pop in, suggest some cards. Lulu, thank you so much, Lulu. I appreciate you. Oh, somebody, thank you for liking. I remember you, somebody. You used to, I know. I remember a lot of the usernames, actually. Armu, I am recognizing some of these names. Okay, let's focus. We told ourselves we're not going to cry. If you guys have any cards you want to suggest, now would be the time. So Swords to Plowshares, 1 mana mono white, instant. You exile a target thing. It's great. It's really fun. It's 1 mana. It's an instant, so it's super fun to do in response to other things. Even like if it's in a vindictive way. You can exile something at instant speed. They gain a little bit of life. The life gain isn't usually super impactful in a game of Commander, at least in my experience. I've never hesitated to cast the Swords to Plowshares, and it feels really good when it goes off. Would definitely recommend. Aragorn the Uniter. I love Aragorn. Actually, I am an Aragorn truther. I made a silly little video about Aragorn, and I recommend that everyone kind of build an Aragorn deck. It's everything but black, and it rewards you for playing all kinds of spells. It really wants you to play multiple colored spells in an Aragorn the Uniter deck because Aragorn gets triggers for all the colors of those spells. So we're going to pull up an Aragorn the Uniter, suggested by TikTok. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still working with my windows. We're going live on Twitch as well. This is Aragorn the Uniter. He's a 4 mana everything but black 5/5 legendary human noble. And this thing says that whenever you cast yourself a white spell, you make a guy. Whenever you cast yourself a green spell, something gets +4/+4. Whenever you cast yourself a blue spell, you scry 2. And whenever you cast yourself a red spell, you get to point 3 damage to target opponent. It's a great time. I've had multiple builds of Aragorn. I really love this commander. It's super versatile, and it rewards different styles of playstyle. I once had a white-leaning Aragorn the Uniter deck, and it was token-based. And this little token trigger off your white spells is really spicy. Would recommend. I also just did a Pips Matter, and I put all the charms in there within Aragorn's colors. Those are instant spells, and they're usually modal, so you can choose what they do. And they're really fun to play in response to things. They're really great for interaction, and that deck stayed together. We took apart the white deck, but the multicolored one we stayed together, and we upgraded it into a Ramos the Dragon Engine deck, which is a 5-color commander that rewards the same playstyle as Aragorn, because Ramos gets counters for the amount of colors for the thing you're casting. Alright. Wow, it is so cool. Thank you, guys. Wow, we are seeing Jimothy, our moons. Jimothy, Raina, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I am BGM. We do live deck building here. This is our last live deck building ever. So Jimothy says a Sovereign Okenek. So we're going to talk about Okenek. We're going to talk about whatever cards you want to. We're going out on TikTok. We're going to try to stream until we can't anymore. I want to know what cards you guys enjoy playing. There are no restrictions. There are no rules tonight. I just want to know what you guys enjoy playing in Commander. And if you have a good time vibing with me, please make the jump on over to Twitch while we still can. My time with you guys, it's been really meaningful. This is a 4 mana Selesnya Cat. It's a 3/4 with Ward 2, and it's really great if you have modified creatures or creatures that get buffs or give buffs. Because this Cat Noble says whenever this thing attacks, for each creature you control with greater power than its base power, base just means what's printed on the card. So if it has greater power than what's printed on the card, it has greater than base power. And you put a number of +1/+1 counters on that creature equal to the difference. It's great. It can make temporary buffs permanent. If you like combat tricks, this could be very silly, especially if they give large buffs to power and toughness, because they'll come counters if you can deal damage. It's super spicy. I've yet to see this deck built. But I opened one of these. It's really rad. It's $6. It's a mythic from the Caverns of Ixalan set. It's a cat, which is a relevant creature type. We just got a bunch of new cat support in Foundations. Yeah, he's a vibe. He loves +1/+1 counters. He loves when things are buff. Yeah, I vibe. I like him. I have him. He's great. A Nazir says a Mythweaver Pock. I hate this card. Oh, you can also suggest cards you hate. If you want to hate with me, I'll hate at the end. You hate this Mythweaver Puck? Mythweaver Puck. Mythweaver. Okay, did I spell it wrong? I must have. Mythweaver. Mythweaver Pack. Mythweaver. Okay, well that... I'm sorry, can I please get a spell check on the Mythweaver Pack, please? Oh, it's an alchemy card. That's why it's not coming out. Okay, Reina says an unwanted remake. Unwanted remake is a spell. It's a bit of a meme. It's from the Duskmourn horror expansion we saw around fall of last year. It's a 1-mana mono-white instant. It says destroy target creature. Its controller Manifest Dread. We're going to read Manifest Dread. That target player looks at the top 2 cards of the library. Put one into the graveyard. Put one onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature, as if it's morphed or cloaked, or one of the other names for the effects that make it a face down 2/2 with like an effect. Yeah, and if it's a creature card, you can turn it face up anytime for its mana cost. So in a way, you can give the creature flash, which is cool. It's a 1-mana white instant speed, destroy something or get rid of something. It's in the same league as like a Swords to Plowshares or the Path to Exile 1-mana white instance that exile things. This thing feels spicy. I feel like the rest of the text doesn't matter, because for 1 mana, you destroy target creature. That's excellent. It's instant speed, it's an uncommon, and it's only 40 cents. I quite like this piece of removal. Of course I would run a Swords to Plowshares or a Path over this thing, but this thing is still really fun. Also, the art's really interesting. I would rate the art higher than Path or Swords, except for that one Secret Lair. Swords, if you know, you know. Alright, that is... Thank you, I Heart Reina, for the suggestion. And thanks for hanging out with me on TikTok while we still can. If you want to make the jump over to Twitch, if you have a good time hanging out with me, I would greatly appreciate it. Was that a Hutzler? Hunter. Okay, Hunter says rebuff the wicked. Rebuff the wicked. I'm seeing in Lando... Yeah, babe. Okay, cool. We buff the wicked. I don't recognize the set symbol, but this is a 6-mana mono white instant, another one, and it says counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. Okay, cool. So this is rad. The art is a vibe. We like it. It's $6. I don't. Okay, so it's interesting. If your pods run a lot of spot removal, I feel like this could be really cool. And maybe if you're running CEDH, and this is just a 1-mana piece of interaction that you can redirect a kill spell or a removal spell, that feels really cool. This price tells me that the card is good. This is not a bad card. I just don't know if I personally really like it. So things of this nature, effects that help save your creatures or prevent them from dying in the first place. This is just a counter. Yeah, I don't know. I would call it, this feels less like a counter spell to me and more like a piece of interaction or an insurance policy. Like, this feels more like target thing gains indestructible than a counter spell. I don't know, I guess there are some weird interactions where maybe if we're countering, or maybe if we're targeting multiple things, maybe there's a big spicy X spell your opponent's casting and he targets multiple things. This could be a very cool card to cast in response because then you're saving the whole board. I don't know, I have not seen this one. I like the art. What a vibe. Alright, what do we got next? Skullbriar was always good. Chris Wirt says Skullbriar is always good. Alright, I'm sorry guys, I'm messing with Windows. Tonight, we are not doing live deck building. Tonight, we're just talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. Tonight is the end times of TikTok, and I don't want to act like it's a funeral. I might get a little choked up. This experience has been really meaningful for me. But let's just talk about whatever cards you want to. If you guys have a card you would really enjoy playing in Commander, I want to know about it. Please put it in the comments. This is Skullbriar, the Walking Grave. It's a 2-mana Golgari 1/1, and this zombie elemental has got me got. This thing has bashed me out of a few games. I've known multiple people who have a little hasty 1/1 Golgari thing, and this thing's spicy because it says, if it deals damage to a player, you slap a counter on it, and counters remain on it in the command zone. So once it's big, once it has counters for the rest of the game, and it stays a significant creature. Significant, also notable among Skullbriar, is the word haste here that says it can attack on the turn it enters. This thing is super yikesy. It's super good, and if you just have a few low drop permanents, like slam a few counters on Skullbriar, you maintain enough ramp and escalation to keep recasting him, because he's gonna draw removal. He's a Voltron Golgari commander. He's great, though. He's gotten my goat several times. He's very fun. He's a budget card at 80 cents. Thank you for telling me about Skullbriar. Howling Mine. Okay, we're going to pull up Howling Mine. And I have a love-hate relationship with Howling Mine. And I'm going to talk to you guys about it. This is just a fun little story from... I play in a casual commander group. And the casual commander group has free prizes, which is really cool. It's a little prize pack and it has like 3 cards in it. And they have the little planeswalker stamps that appear around here in the art of cards. And so people take the game somewhat seriously. So people be showing up with CDH decks. And I was playing an Artifact Matters decks, and I was running this here Howling Mine. It's a 2-mana artifact that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, if this thing is untapped, they get to draw a card. And so what I did, because I thought I was being cool and friendly and casual, is I cast Howling Mine, and I had like 2 other artifacts, and I passed the turn. The following player drew an extra card off Howling Mine, and then wiped all the artifacts off my board. It felt bad. And for those reasons, I stopped being nice about Howling Mine. I took that card out. I remember that. Like, there's not a lot of things that, like, really, like, felt like they failed the vibe check in Commander games. That was one of them. I remember that player, and I still gun for him. It was fun. Someone else in the pod called him a terrorist when he did that to me. And I would never use such harsh words. But he did it for me, so we're going to pull up a Toshiro Umezawa. Toshiro Umezawa is a black card, right? This thing was printed, it looks like in Kamigawa. Or, I might be mistaken. I'm sorry, this might be the samurai who kills Nicol Bolas in the very early lore of Magic the Gathering. This is a mono black human samurai 2/2 for 3 mana with Bushido 1. Bushido meaning that... We gotta move that. Bushido meaning that when this blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn, and whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from play, you may play target instant card in your graveyard. If that card would be put into a graveyard, you exile it instead. Okay, cool. I like this quite a bit. This feels like, if I have never seen this thing on the battlefield, I don't really know what the vibe is. It's commander eligible because it's legendary, and I imagine you would run oodles and boodles of kill spells in your deck, so you can get that fancy trigger. Definitely the reason you're running this as commander is for that trigger. Yeah, I guess you would just do, like, mono black instant tribal, and have a lot of the instants be kill spells. It's cool. I'm not familiar with this one. I am not familiar with Toshiro Umezawa. Thank you for the suggestion. Alright, Honor says a temporal extortion. Temporal extortion. Hey everybody, if you're having a good time doing some live deck building with me, and if you want to see any of the cards we talked about, it's on a Moxfield deck list. That's in the link tree. If you want to keep doing this at some point in the future that isn't today, please make the jump on over to Twitch. We're live there as well. And YouTube too. This is a temporal extortion suggested by Honor. The prompt for tonight is just tell me cards you like. I just want to talk about stuff I like. Everyone on the app today is acting like it's a funeral. And let's talk about some stuff we like. Let's inject a little bit of positivity. This is a temporal extortion. It's 4 black pips, so I don't know how positive it's going to be. But it's a sorcery, and it says when you play it, any player may pay half or his or her life total, rounding up, and if a player does, they counter the spell, and it's an extra turn spell. I'll tell you what, I actually got to do a stream with some MTG TikTok creators, and a creator by the name of Phage the Untouchable. She named herself after the mono black creature that causes you to lose if you play it, or if you cheat it out or something. And yeah, so Phage played this, and I'm like, no, nay. Turns out, I paid half my life total, and her commander says that players cannot gain life. And I lost. I lost first. This card has taken me out voluntarily. I did half of it to myself. It's yikesy. It's good. It's $20. I'd recommend a proxy. I'm a Printing Proxies affiliate. If you want to spend 87 cents instead of $19, I would recommend Printing Proxies. It's a really cool mono black card. The casting cost is it's restrictive. It's 4 black pips. Your deck needs to be able to make 4 black pips to take this and cast it reliably. That can be a big ask in a multicolored deck. Phage was playing a mono black deck. and she got me with that. It was a vibe, though. It was still a fun game. All right, thank you for the suggestion. I have too many windows. All right, bam. All right, next suggestion from TikTok is... Oh, don't worry, Ethan. I'm reconnecting. I disconnect, but I come back. Don't worry. The Arizona Ranger VR says Sauron the Necromancer is my favorite card, hands down. Well, thank you so much for sharing your favorite card with me, the Arizona Ranger. So we're going to pull up a Sauron the Necromancer. Sauron the Necromancer, I assume... from Lord of the Rings. Okay, I have this in a binder. This one's super interesting. Let's talk about it. It's a 5-mana mono black 4/4 Avatar Horror from Lord of the Rings with the sick art, and it is a menacing creature, and it says win the copy of that card, except it's a 3/3 black wraith with menace. And at the beginning of your next end step, you exile that token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. So this is a really cool card. I actually really... Oh my jeez. Oh geez. Okay, and we're back. Hopefully. So I really enjoy this. This is really cool. This feels like the kind of card you would want to run in a Nazgul deck. This feels like a Nazgul commander. There's a blue-black Nazgul commander. If you're not familiar with the Nazguls, we're going to pull them up right quick, and then we're going to go back to Sauron. Nazguls are little 3/3, expensive, pricey little creatures. There's 9 different arts of them, and they represent the 9 Nazguls from the Lord of the Rings. They themselves are wraiths. And whenever a Nazgul enters, you get a ring temp trigger, and the ring temp triggers puts counters on your wraiths, and you can have up to 9 Nazguls. So, Nazgul deck is a thing. It's a little pricey, because to buy the real 9 Nazguls, it is, I think, a close to $100. I hope it's less, but I think it's still pretty pricey. So we're going to pull Sauron the Necromancer back up. Sauron the Necromancer. Yeah, here he is. So I feel like a mono black Sauron the Necromancer Nazgul deck is what this wants to be. Especially because when it brings stuff back from the graveyard, it makes them wraiths anyway. So you can run your Nazguls, have this ability to recur them, and you can also run a bunch of other mono-black value creatures that Sauron can recur and turn into wraiths. There's plenty of mono-black cards that cared about creature types. This is kind of becoming a wraith tribal deck. I feel like that's a vibe, and I can't believe I didn't realize it. I have a Nazgul deck, and it's the Lord of the Nazgul. It's the Dimir one. Thank you guys so much for all the follows. I'm really glad you're having a good time vibing with me. I started live deck building over on TikTok. We're on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok all at the same time right now. And so... yeah, thank you guys for vibing with me one more time on TikTok while you have a chance. If you're enjoying the show, please use the link tree to make the jump on over to Twitch or YouTube. If you don't, that's fine as well. If you want to tell me about the cards you enjoy playing in Commander, that's what this live is about. Normally we have a Commander for the night to kind of like set a theme, but the theme is I just want to know cards you like or cards you hate. Just tell me about cards. Let's vibe for a little while longer while we still can. This is Talran the Sky Summoner. He's a 4-mana mono blue creature. He's a merfolk, but he really likes drakes. He makes flying drakes, and he makes them when you cast instants and sorceries. This thing screams mono blue storm to me because that's how I've seen this thing played. It makes a bunch of flyers. Notable among the drakes, they fly. It's cool. It's a fun deck. Talrand has a bunch of reprints, making him super accessible. This version's 60 cents. A while ago, if you guys remember Dual Decks, from back in the day. It was a product put out by Wizard of the Coast, and they printed 2 60-card decks, and they came in the same package, so you could buy the product and you could play Magic with a friend. And there was a Merfolk versus Goblin dual deck, and Talrand was printed in that dual deck, and that's why I have a Talrand, because I got one as a gift one year. He's a lot of fun. I've never built him, but I've also run other Spellslinger decks that ran blue, and he is so fun in there. He's a lot of fun. He can be built budget. He himself is only 60 cents. Can I mention that the Drakes fly? The Drakes fly. That's usually how I lose to Talrand. Oh, Momentai, thank you so much. That is so sweet. TikTok's been a really meaningful experience to me. It's been so cool. Like, I initially started my TikTok experience just showing cards with my hand. I was initially really scared to show my body because I thought people would be mean to me on the internet. But you know what? No one's been mean to me really at all. TikTok has been a really lovely experience. Nexus says an Arkham Dragon. Arkham Dragon is not a card I'm familiar with. I'm excited. Arkham... I spelled Arkham wrong. I spelled it with the U. Did I? Arkham Dragon? I'm sorry, can I please get a spell check on Arkham Dragon? Is it a Coom Dragon? Maybe it's a Coom Dragon. A Coom Dragon. Did you get spell checked? I tell you what, the biggest obstacle to doing live deck building is spell check. It's not a Coom Dragon. Can I please get a spell check on the Arcoom Dragon? Aclazotz. Aclazotz. Aclazotz is mean, y'all. Aclazotz is a mean bat creature. Aclazotz. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. A-C-L-A. Yeah, Aclazotz, come up. Yeah, Aclazotz rad. Alright, cool. We are gonna get back... Alright, we are gonna get back to that Nexus. I will scroll up if I need to. This is Aclazotz. It's a 5-mana mono-black 4/4 flying lifelinker. And when it attacks... Everybody gotta be discarding cards. If you're an opponent and this thing attacks, people's gotta discard cards. And if you can't have your opponents discard cards, that's actually what you want, because that's how you draw cards with Aclazotz. It's a great card. It's 15 bucks. When it dies, it flips into this land, and you can flip it back into Aclazotz for 3 mana, and you transform it, but you only activate it if a player has 1 or fewer cards in their hand. So Aclazotz is a little bit harder to flip. I personally would never build this deck, because discard decks are miserable to play against, in my personal experience, but I do run a copy of my Aclazotz in my Dahada, which is a Mardu legendary deck. This thing also makes bats when people discard lands. It's great. It's a very nifty little creature. It's a relevant body in the form of a 4/4 lifelinker. It's great. Would recommend, would play. Now we're gonna go back to Nexus. Nexus! Arkham Dragon... Dagson. Dagson. Arkham Dagson. Arkham Dagson. Oh, geez. Okay. All right. If I knew it was blue, I wouldn't have... I'm just kidding. All right. It's a 4-mana mono blue 2/2 human artificer. It's $16. I'm sure it's not going to be upsetting at all. It says tap target artifact creature's controller sacrifices it. That player may search his or her library for a non-creature artifact card, put it into play, then shuffle his or her library. Okay, cool. So I'll tell you what. I am not familiar with Arkham Dagson. I have never seen this thing on the battlefield. And I gotta tell you outright, I have had a lot of friends who have had a very exciting relationship with a card called Joyra. And so I'm not a big fan of artifact storms or artifact strategies, in blue in particular, just because those decks kind of feel slow. Or the people that I've played with that were piloting those decks, it took time. Like, it felt long for their spells to resolve. It's interesting. It feels a little bit CDH-y in the way that it tutors for non-creature artifacts. There are so many like amazing non-creature artifacts. Like, this thing can grab the Mystic Forge, it can grab a Sensei's Top, it can grab any number of things. There's so many artifacts that are just like 40 bucks and do game-breaking things. It's cool. It's a mono blue artifact build that isn't Urza. And when I say it like that, I like it better. It's a 4-mana mono blue artifact build that isn't Urza Lord High Artificer. And that's great. You know what? If we measure it by that standard alone, I love it. I love it, actually. Uriel the Demon King. If you think Aclazotz is bad, thoughts on Edgar Markov? I love Edgar Markov, actually. So Edgar Markov is crazy expensive. This thing, okay, holy shit, and this is the reprint too, and that thing's 80 bucks. Gee, okay. Edgar Markov is a vampire commander. It was printed in the first Tribal Matters set of commander precons. It was printed alongside Arabo, Roar of the World, Kess Dissident Mage, and the Dragon. So the tribes for the deck cycle were wizards, vampires, dragons, and cats. This thing's a vibe. I'm pretty sure among all the commanders, not the commander decks, the commanders, Edgar Markov is the most expensive among those 4 by far. It's great, y'all. It's great. It's an Mardu strategy, and it leans towards aristocrats because you're already doing vampires. This thing shines because whenever you cast yourself a vampire spell, you make yourself a little black bat, even if this thing's in the command zone. So it can provide a lot of creature and a wide board advantage really early on in the game if you skew your deck towards low drops. And it also says whenever this thing attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. This thing's great. It's a great card. It is the quintessential vampire commander if you want to be in these colors. There are other options, but he is simply the best. He's great. He's 80 bucks. I would recommend a proxy. I used to make proxies. I've made my friend a proxy of Edgar Markov because that is insane. $80 for a piece of cardboard is crazy. All right. It had that deck for sale for $450, Damien. Damien, no! Damien, proxies. You know what? I don't know you, Damien. If you got money like that, I'm happy for you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Hello says surgical extraction. All right. Tonight's theme is tell me the cards you like. Normally, we do live deck building with the commander and like a set theme based on the commander, but tonight, everyone on the app is acting like it's a funeral, and that makes me sad. So we're going to distract ourselves by talking about cards we like. So we're going to talk about surgical extraction, suggested by Hello. This thing is a little 1 mana. Is that black? Yeah, that's a 1 mana mono black instant. It got a $3 reprint in Thunder Junction, and I gotta say, the art is quite a vibe. That's a skeletal horse. This 1 mana black instant that we can pay 2 life for if we don't want to pay mana says that we choose target card in the graveyard other than a basic land, search its owner's graveyard, hand, and or library for any number of cards with the same name as that card, and exile them. That player shuffles. So, I am strictly dictally a commander person, and so these kind of cards don't really shine to me, up until recently. So there is a cycle of cards in Magic the Gathering referred to as Relentless cards. Relentless cards let you have multiple copies of the card, even in singleton formats. That's what Relentless means. It's colloquial from the cards Relentless Rats, which is one of the first cards that let you have multiple copies of the same card. And yeah, so that's where Relentless comes from. I don't know if you guys heard about a card called Heir Apparent. I'm gonna pull it up just to make a point. Heir Apparent is a Relentless white card, and it incrementally makes crazy amounts of rabbit tokens. There's also a Knights Templar from the Assassin's Creed set that cares about historics and artifacts that's really spicy in mono white. There's a slime sorcery in mono green that's Relentless called Slime Against Humanity. Every color's got at least 1 now. Black has the most with, I think, 3. Yeah, this one makes tokens, and you create a number of rabbits equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. So you make a bunch of Heir Apparents, and then, or you slam a few Heir Apparents, you blink them a few times for their ETB triggers, and you make a bunch of rabbits, or, yeah, it's great. And for those reasons, I really like Surgical Extraction now, because my friends have decided, or why one specific friend said that they are going to run a Relentless deck in every color, and they've had 4 now. And I don't know if you guys have ever sat through a Shadowborn Tassel deck that was like built for CDH style, but it takes a long time for them to resolve all the ripple triggers on not a roaming throne. What's the 5-man? No, Thrumming Stone. Thrumming Stone is the one that gives ripple. Ripple is an effect that lets you cast multiple spells if they got the same name off the top of your library. This is a Time Sifter. This thing is, how much mana? 5 mana. It's a colorless artifact. It's 80 cents. It gives each player an upkeep trigger, and each player removes the top card of his or her library from the game. The player who removed the card with the highest converted mana cost takes an extra turn. I hate that. After this one, if there are 2 more player cards are used or tied for the highest, the tied players repeat the process until the tie is broken. I hate this, and I'm going to tell you why. So I am not a CDH person. I am not like a, hey, look at my lockout game kind of person. I'm not a stacks person. I like good, casual, conventional Magic the Gathering Commander 4-player experiences, and this feels awful to me. I feel like this goes in a deck that runs only high mana. It has a fuck ton of ramp. It has a bunch of things that can support doing something like this, so they always win the trigger, and then they get extra turns, and then they just win. And I don't particularly like that style, but that's not really You know, it's cool. It's 80 cents. I hate that it's readily available at 80 cents. It's quite interesting. I'll give you that. It's very interesting. But also, one of my, like, my biggest turnoffs in a game of Commander, mass land destruction. Mass land destruction. Extra turns. And stacks and lockout. Those are my big 3 icks. I really hate extra turns as a, like, style or, like, a thing that your deck does. Because, like, everyone drove to the game store. People spent money and gas to be there. People are there to play their decks. They probably spent as much time crafting your deck as you did. And then you're taking extra turns and you're kind of monopolizing the communal playtime. And for those reasons, I really hate extra turns. Temple Bell is a 3-mana colorless artifact for $7. And it says that you can tap it and each player draws a card. This is great. I love this. This is the opposite of the last thing. It helps everybody draw cards. It helps everyone keep playing the game. I love it, actually. It's a bit group huggy. I don't know if I would play it. Also, in the cycle of precons that Atraxa was running in, that was the cycle before the tribe precons. That's where this is from. I'm not sure what deck this is from, but I recognize the set symbol. It's a cool card. I like it. I hate that it's a group hug card and that it's also $7. Bolo says a zoetic glyph. A zoetic glyph? A zoetic glyph. Hello, TikTok homies, for the last time. If you were having a good time, if you're vibing with the show, please use the link tree to head on over to Twitch, which is not being banned in a matter of hours. I've had a really meaningful time with you guys. Thanks for being here. This is a zoetic glyph, printed in the Caverns of Ixalan. It's a 3-mana mono blue aura. You enchant an artifact, and the enchanted artifact is a golem. It's a 5/4, and when this thing is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you discover 3, so you get a little mini cast trigger off it. I like it. I don't hate it. It's very silly. I don't know what kind of, like, I guess, what kind of deck would you play this in? Like, it wants to have an artifact to enchant. I guess you could, I like it, though. It's interesting. It's silly. If you're doing an artifact-ocrats, like an aristocrat style with artifact tokens, you could slam this thing on a token, you could swing with it willy-nilly, and then when it dies, and you're going to be sacrificing artifacts already in that strategy, this thing gets a trigger and you cast a 3-drop or less for free. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. It's very silly. It's 40 cents. It does multiple things. It can make you a creature out of like a treasure or a clue or a food. I like it the more I think about it. I would definitely run it in a deck that wants to be sacrificing like clues or foods or treasures. That's where I would put this thing. It also makes it like a really relevant body for 3 mana. Like it makes it a 5/4. That's pretty significant. I like it. Also, the art's a vibe. I like it. I like Zoetic Glyph. I'm not sure. I definitely think I'm mispronouncing Zoetic Glyph, but this is Zoetic Glyph. All right. Alex Dorkson says a possibility storm. Possibility storm. Hello, everybody. I'm BGM. I normally do live deck building, but tonight we're just talking about cards we like because it's the end times of TikTok. So we want to maintain a positive attitude because everyone else is talking like it's a funeral. This is Possibility Storm. It's a 5-mana mono red enchantment and it's $2. Whenever a player casts a spell from his or her hand, that player exiles it and then exiles cards on top of his or her library until they exile a card that shares a type with it. That player casts the spell without paying for it, and then they put all cards exiled this way onto the bottom of their library in a random order. I don't love this. I'm going to tell you why. I really like, in my Commander games, to have a sense of agency. Like, the joy for me in, like, a Commander game and playing it out and, like, having the cards in my hand, and I'm like, okay, I have these cards, I'm going to plan to do the thing. And then I'm going to try to execute the thing. And Possibility Storm says, fuck your dreams. You're doing what's ever on your library. And that makes me a little sad. Also, like, the way... It can be cool. It can trade you up for a more significant spell. It can. It has. I've seen it happen. But it doesn't seem to happen that way for my triggers. So, I don't know. I don't like it. Because, like, I want to do the plan. I have a plan, usually, and I want to execute the plan, and the Possibility Storm says I can't. But if your joy in a Commander games comes from ruining your friends' plans, this is a great suggestion. If you love being a silly little asshole, play Possibility Storm. I promise you, someone will get a little ticked off. Someone will have feelings about your Possibility Storm. Hey Penny Blizzaga says, seize the spotlight. Seize the spotlight. Hey everybody, I'm BGM. We're talking about cards we like tonight. If you like the show, if you like talking about cardboard with me, you can use the link tree to head on over to Twitch, where the show will continue post the TikTok ban, and you'll just see this thing as one continuous image instead of the cut. Yeah. I seize the spotlight. I spelled seize the spotlight wrong. Seize the spotlight. We're gonna seize the spotlight. Nope, seize the day, seize the secrets, seize the soul, seize the spoil, seize the spotlight. Alright, we got a 3-mana mono red sorcery. It's $3. It was printed in a pre-con. I'm not sure if it's a reprint or if this is its original printing. But it says that each player chooses Fame or Fortune. For each player who chose Fame, you gain control of a creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap it, give it haste. That's known as the Threaten effect. Anything that's in red that says you gain control of something until end of turn, untap it, give it haste, known as the Threaten effect. From the spell Threaten. And then for each player who chose Fortune, you draw a card and you create a treasure token. 10 out of 10, I love it. I love it. So I was talking about Possibility Storm in the way that it kind of takes away agencies from players. Possibility Storm replaces the spell you're casting with whatever you're exiling off the top. Possibility Storm takes away agency. This just gives your opponents 2 bad choices. Because, like, they're not going to give you their spiciest boy. They're not going to let you do the threatening effect. So this is going to be a bunch of card draw and some treasure tokens, which is excellent. It's aggressively costed at 3 mana for something that can get you card draw and treasure tokens. I like it a lot. I bought a copy of this. I think this came out with... This looks like a new Capenna set symbol, but I'm not positive. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. I bought a single of this. I think it's great. I've cast it a few times. It's value. I tell you what, I've never gotten the threaten effects to go off. My playgroup always just chooses to give me cards and let me get their treasures. Because I usually wait to cast this thing until there are things worth taking. Because one day they'll let us get that threaten effect off. Ganar Andy, thank you very much for your patience. I saw your Glunch a few minutes ago when we were looking, I think, at Possibility Storm. So we're going to pull up Glunch. Glunch is a vibe. Glunch is a group hub commander card. Why can I not spell it? There's a T. There's a T in Glunch. I've never had to spell Glunch before. This is Glunch. He's a flurmph from D&D lore. They're like kind jellyfish. They are positive vibes, and you shouldn't hurt them. They're Celestia creatures. They're jellyfish. This one's a flying 0/5, and it gives us an end step trigger to choose a player, and they get to slam counters on their thing. We choose a second player to draw a card, and then we choose a third player to create 2 treasures. It's great. I really like it. It's a group hug strategy. You have to help people when you're glunching out. I like it. It's 50 cents because it's a bad card, guys. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a bad card, but I really love it because everybody loves to see it, and nobody's going to usually mess with you when you have a glunch out if you're doing casual Magic. I like it a lot. It helps people. It can give you ramp if you need ramp. It can give you a card if you need a card. It's a good time. I like it. But I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's a bad card. Gotta say, Dakuchi Silencer. If I got tricked into saying Dakuchi Silencer, and if it's not a card, all right, I guess I silenced Dakuchis. Gotta say, did I spell it wrong? Or D-A-K. I did spell it wrong. D-A-K-U-C-H-I. How many Dakuchi cards? Okay. D-A-K. Oh, okay, so you're all... Can I please get a spell check on Dakuchi Silencer, please? Sticky Fingers! Sticky Fingers. And then we'll see if anyone can spell Takuchi Silencer. Sticky Fingers is a 1-mana, mono-red, or enchantment. This thing was originally printed. I think it looks like New Capenna. It says enchanted creature, and the enchanted creature has menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token. I love this. I have a Kellogg Dangerous Mind deck. We are going to pull up... So everybody remember Sticky Fingers. It's a 1-mana mono-red enchantment, and when the enchanted creature deals combat damage or connects with the player, we get to make a treasure token. It's aggressively costed at 1 mana. It's very fun to stick on stuff. And I run a copy of this in my favorite deck I built and played in 2024, Kellogg Dangerous Mind. I really love my Kellogg Dangerous Mind, and I'm going to talk about it. It's a 3-mana it's a 3-mana Rakdos creature. This character appears in Fallout 4, and he steals your baby at the start of the nuclear apocalypse. He's a first strikey, hasty 3/2, and that's relevant because this thing has an attack trigger that it makes a treasure when you attack with it. Attack trigger, make a treasure. You can also sacrifice 5 treasures at sorcery speed, and you can gain control of target creature as long as you control Kellogg. It's very spicy. I normally don't do that second ability because I try to like be a good vibe at the table, and I stack the deck with enough other treasure payoffs that it's even not like the spiciest thing I can do all the time. It's just a fun little piece of interaction built into the commander. It's great. I love it. I would highly recommend it. It's really aggressive at 3 mana. It has an early gameplay all the time. I love it. It's my favorite deck of 2024 is this Rakdos treasure deck. Death Trigger. Death Trigger? Oh, Sticky Fingers. We're going to go back to Sticky Fingers. I did forget the Death Trigger. There's a Death Trigger? When a enchanted creature dies, you draw a card! Okay, great. This is excellent. So oftentimes in Commander, not oftentimes, just put period, full stop. The 2 things you need to make any Commander deck work are ramp and card draw. Ramp is giving yourself additional mana to cast spells or activate abilities. Treasures are a form of ramp. The other thing you need to make a deck work is card draw. And this little 1-drop does both. It does both a little bit, but incremental value throughout the course of a game is often just enough to turn it. And this is really good. It's really good. It can make multiple treasures. And when people get sick of it, you draw yourself a card. I'm going to lie, guys. I've played Sticky Fingers like 10 times. I don't think I've ever resolved that Death Trigger. I don't think I've ever resolved that Death Trigger a single time. And my commander gets removed a lot. Like Omnath, the locus of creation. Hey, everybody. If you would like to do the show live deck building with me, post TikTok ban, please head on over to Twitch. We are live there right now, or if you have a problem with Twitch, we're also live on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'm BGM, also known as biggergayer Magic. I use green screen effects to make silly little Magic the Gathering videos. You should check out the pinned ones. I'm really proud of those. They're very silly. And thanks for hanging out with me. We're doing live deck building one more time. We don't have a commander tonight. I just want to know about what cards you guys are excited about and what cards you want people to talk about. Your card comes up here. It'll be put into a Moxfield deck list. You can use the link tree to find Twitch and also the Moxfield page, the dated deck list. Yeah. This is an Omnath, the locus of all. It is the completed Omnath. Omnath is a longtime character in MTG. He was originally printed in the first Zendikar block. And in Zendikar, he was the first Zendikar block, he was mono green. And through the years, as we've gone back to Zendikar as a plane, and as different core sets came out, Omnath has been acquiring all the other colors besides green. And during March of Machines, which is the Phyrexian arc where they invade the multiverse, they infect Omnath, giving him access to black mana. Here's Omnath. He's a 4/4. He's 5 mana. He's 50 cents. And if you would lose unspent mana, that mana just becomes black. So what that means is if you empty, like you tap your lands for mana, and you don't want to do anything with the mana, you let it fizzle out as steps and phases go, it will just turn the mana black and you can hold on to it. So often, when this thing first came out, there were a lot of decks of it running around. It's cool, and it's a big mana deck. This deck wants to create insane amounts of mana to cast really huge spells. This thing also gives you a trigger on your pre-combat main phase to look at the top card of your library, and you may reveal that card. If it has 3 or more colored mana symbols in its mana cost, you add 3 mana in any combo, and if it's colored, put it in your hand. Okay, if you don't reveal it, put it in your hand. It's draw a card, or if it's really spicy, you reveal it and you get value. It's cool. They would cast things like a Genesis Wave, which is a mono green X spell that slams stuff off the top of your library for free, lands and creatures. It was a big X spell deck. It was very cool, but it was kind of slow. Like, because, or if like your sorcery gets countered, your big X sorcery gets countered, you're gonna feel bad. So that deck didn't stay together a long time. Gravecrawler. Oh, we already talked about Glunt. We're gonna talk about Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler makes me a little bit sad because it probably means that someone's playing an infinite combo. This thing is a 1-mana mono black $9 2/1 zombie, and it can't block. You may cast it from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. So what people would do often with the Gravecrawler, in my experience, is they would kill it as many times as they want to. They'd sack it to an altar for mana. They'd sack it to something else for card draw. And then they'd recur it infinitely. Or they'd get an effect that says whenever a creature you control dies, everybody loses 1 life, you gain 1 life. And then they do that infinitely and win the game. And that's my experience with Gravecrawler. It usually means that I'm about to lose, in my experience, when you see it hit the battlefield. Dark Heart of the Wood! Dark Heart of the Wood. Dark Heart of the Wood. Dark Heart of the Wood. I am unfamiliar with a Dark Heart of the Wood. It is a Golgari enchantment from Ravnica. It says sacrifice a forest and you gain 3 life. Okay, this could be cool. Golgari is definitely the right color pair to sacrifice your lands and then plop them right down onto the battlefield. There are a lot of effects in greens that let you slam lands from your graveyard onto the battlefield. I imagine we were playing like a Golgari landfall deck when we're playing this thing, purposefully putting lands into our graveyard to then recur them. This thing's a vibe. I imagine it goes great in something like a Gitrog monster deck. Gitrog monster is something really exciting. It came out in the Shadows of Innistrad block, and it says whenever a land enters your graveyard from anywhere, you draw a card. People were using this effect to draw out their decks and play CDH style effects. It's cool. It's a vibe. Wow, this thing's $8. This thing's seen a reprint or two and it's still $8. Damn. Okay. Alright, Frog. People would call it the Get Good Frog. Squee the Immortal. Squee the Immortal. Squee the Immortal. Squee the Immortal is red. He's a goblin. And he's had a charmed life. He's a 3-mana mono red goblin. He is a 2/1, and you may cast him from your graveyard or from exile. Squee is that friend that sticks by you no matter what. Squee ain't gonna leave your side. He'll come back. 3 more mana, he's back. He's cool. I gotta tell you what though, guys. I have not seen Squee the Immortal a lot on the battlefield. I don't know if there are any combos associated with him. I bet there are. There has to be. He is a meme. He's a well-known character within the Magic the Gathering community. You'll hear people joke about Squee and how he keeps dying. He dies a lot. He dies in, like, the Mirrodin books, I'm pretty sure. But he's immortal and he comes back. I think he was captured by Phyrexians and, like, tortured for decades. Like, Squee has had a bad life and he won't die. It's a bit of a bummer. Viridian Seal. The Viridian Seal. Viridian Seal. Uh-oh. Viridian Seal. V-I-R-I-D-I-A-N. Viridian Seal. Viridian Acolyte, Betrayer's Claw, Corruptor, Emissary, Harvester. Oh my goodness. Viridian Seal. Viridian Revel. Okay, Viridian Revel. Viridian Revel. Viridian Revel is a 3-mana mono green enchantment, and it's from Mirrodin. It's $3, and it says whenever an artifact is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, you may draw a card. I like this a lot. I actually like it a lot. I like that green is kind of the color that hates on non-creature permanents real good. Like, green has so many removal effects for artifacts or enchantments. I would say it probably has the most of any other color. Red has quite a few for artifacts, not really enchantments, though. I like this a lot. This is great. There are a bunch of green creatures that blow up artifacts and enchantments. And this is great. We could run this in, like, I don't know, a Rurik Thar deck, and it could be one of our own... Well, maybe we wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know what commander would be really good at keeping artifacts off the battlefield. Don't come to mind right now. Sudden Substitution. Sudden Substitution, suggested by Kitsung. Thank you, Kitsung. Substitution. Sudden Substitution is a... Please load. Sudden Substitution. It's a blue instant. It's 4 mana. Split second, meaning that your friends can't interact with it, and you exchange control of 2 non-creature spells. I'm sorry, you exchange control of target non-creature spell and target creature. Then the spell's controller may choose new targets for it. Exchange control of target non-creature spell and target creature. Okay, cool. I like this a lot. So one of my favorite cards in Magic the Gathering is called Switcheroo and Role Reversal. And what those things do is they switch control of 2 permanents of the same type. And they're really fun to swap 2 people's commanders. Swapping 2 people's commanders is really silly. I've never seen this thing before. This is the first time I've seen this thing. I feel like it's really spicy. Because, like, someone could cast a Cyclonic Rift, and you could give them a creature, which will be about to be bounced to your hand once Cyclonic Rift resolves. I feel like this is an excellent response to Cyclonic Rift. If someone's casting a one-sided board wipe, this is amazing. I like it a lot. I like it a lot, actually. I feel like it has a really deep depth of possibility, depending on what you're targeting with it. I like it a lot. Or if maybe there's a removal spell you could gain control of with this thing if you give one of your creatures. Or what might be really silly is if you exchange control of someone else's creature and they get the spell. That could be really fun too. I like it a lot. It's really versatile. It's a cool little piece of interaction. Molten Duplication. Molten Duplication. Hey everybody, if you're having a good time talking about cardboard with me, please head on over to Twitch. You can use the link tree. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while TikTok goes away. I really appreciate it. I'm BGM. I use green screen effects to make silly little MTG TikToks. This is Molten Duplication. It's a 2-mana mono red sorcery, and it came out in Thunder Junction, and it's $12. Great candidate for a proxy. This thing says create a token on the target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste until end of turn, sacrificing it at the beginning of the next end step. This is cool. This thing's $12, and I'm not really sure why, if I'm telling you the truth. It makes a token, gives it haste, and then it goes away. Okay. It's not a good idea to target legendaries with this thing, because I don't know. I'm going to be real with you guys. I have one of these in a binder, and I'm not really finding a home for it. It might be because I kind of tend to play a lot of legendary creatures, period, full stop, in all my commander decks. Because a lot of legendary creatures are designed to be commanders in and of themselves, and just of that nature, they do more than regular non-legendary creatures nowadays. This thing's cool. I know some people are excited about it. I've seen it suggested on other live deck techs before. It's $12. I don't know if this effect is worth $12. If it was an instant, hell yeah, this would be amazing. But it's a sorcery. I don't know. What are we saying about it in chat? Can you not see me on Twitch? I'm sorry, John Reynolds. I have constant minutes. Can you not see? Oh, Dark Ronin. Yes, I can see you on Twitch. I'm sorry. I have been prioritizing TikTok suggestions tonight because it is our last night together. I'm sorry, John. All right. So, you say a constant miss. Constant miss. I bet it's blue. Nope, it's green. Well, we bet wrong. This is a $20 mono green 2-mana instant with buyback, sacrifice a land. You sacrifice a land when you cast this thing, and I think it puts it back in your hand. Yeah, you put it back, into your... Okay. Creatures deal no damage this turn. This card is frustrating to me. I've played against this card a few times, because this thing is just a lockout. I played against this as a newer player, and it felt really unfair to me because it just meant that I couldn't do anything for the rest of the game. And because it's not a permanent, if you can't instant speed fuck with somebody's spell, you're just boned. For those reasons, I don't like it. It's a good card though. Like if I was playing in if I was doing a Gitrog CDH build and I was already being super sweaty, I would run this all day. Especially because in a Gitrog build, you want your lands to hit the graveyard anyway, and this can help you do that. So in a Gitrog build, CDH style, I would run it. But in casual play, it makes me real sad. I've lost to it. I've lost to it multiple times. Undeniably. The Lumber... Good to see you, the Lumber Wolf. You say you're traumatized. Your favorite card is Traumatized. That's a red flag, the Lumber Wolf. Traumatized. This is like... It's like a black... No, it's not. Okay, it's blue. It's 5 mana. It's blue. It's a sorcery. And it says the target player puts the top half of his or her library rounded down into his or her graveyard. So we've done some mill strategies before on live deck building. We've done the mono blue Bruvac Mill Commander. So whenever we see this card, people in the chat are like, copy its effects so it just kills somebody. Copy it, double it, you win the game. It's very silly. It's $5. If you're in a self-mill strategy, I feel like this is a really excellent card. Like, if you want to have the biggest, juiciest graveyard, like, if your deck really benefits from having everything in the graveyard, this could be a really great card for you. Like, maybe a Muldrotha deck would do really good with this. I don't know. It's not for me. Thank you for sharing it with me, though. You have a Questing Beast deck? Questing Beast. Questing Beast is weird. If I saw a Questing Beast as a commander, I would not know what to think. This card has so many words. Why did I put it? Okay. It's a 4 mana mono green legendary beast 4/3 with vigilance, death touch, taste, and Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures of power 2 or less. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures in control can't be prevented. Whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. Okay, cool. So this thing has a lot of text on it. If I saw this thing in the command zone, I wouldn't know what the hell to think, y'all. Is it a Voltron? I would think maybe it's a Voltron strategy. I would think maybe they're gonna soup it up because it's got haste, it's got death touch, it's got vigilance. Those are all relevant keywords. Its body is relevant. I bet it's a mono green Voltron build. If I saw this thing in the command zone, I'm thinking Voltron. I'm thinking Voltron, and also my planeswalkers are getting dead. Hutzler! Thank you for stopping by, Hutzler, at the very end. Thank you so much for hanging out with me so much, Hutzler. I appreciate you. You've given me some banger suggestions throughout the months. Thank you. Oh, showing you, yeah. So, hey everybody, I'm BGM. I'm biggergayer Magic. I use green screen effects, make silly little MTG videos. Please watch 1 or 2 of them. Yeah, and if you want to hang out with me and do live deck building again, use the link tree. Head on over to Twitch or YouTube, where we can hang out and talk about cards for content and such. Warp World is our next suggestion. If you want to tell me about any of the cards you want, and you want me to be judgy, and you want to hear what I had to say about them, put them in the comments. If I pull them up over here, it'll be put into our farewell TikTok deck list over on Moxfield. That's also... Moxfield link is in the link tree. This is an 8 mana mono red sorcery that says that each player shuffles all permanents he or she owns into his or her library, then reveals that many cards from the top of his or her library. Each player puts all artifacts, creatures, and land cards revealed this way into play, then puts all enchantment cards revealed this way into play, and then puts all the rest on the bottom of the library in any order. You know what would suck? If someone resolves the first half of the spell without counting the number of things they had. That would be real sad. This is really interesting. It's $2, which I like. It's 8 mana sorcery, which I don't like. And it's a board wipe, but like... in the right deck, this is just a win con. Like, because it's getting rid of lands, right? All permanents. Spoiler alert, your lands are permanents. This thing will shuffle your lands. And if you hit 8 mana, you probably had like a worthwhile amount of lands to shuffle away. It's interesting. It also works on your opponents. So I imagine if you're playing this against someone else who's running like a large permanent build, like they want to have big spicy creatures, or they're slamming out Eldrazi's, this could make you lose. It's cool, it's interesting, it's $1.50, the art's a vibe. I could see why some people would like this. I like this a lot better than like Possibility Storm, because this does it all at once. Cons I can see about playing this card is that it probably takes a few minutes to resolve. My favorite card is Grip of Chaos. Tyson says a Grip of Chaos. Grip of Chaos. Grip of Chaos is a red 6 mana enchantment. It's $5, and it says whenever a spell or ability is put onto the stack, reselect its targets at random if it has a single target. Okay, this is really interesting. This is really confusing to me. Don't think I've ever read a Magic card before that referred to the stack in the text of the rules. This broke my brain. I didn't know this was a thing. I've never seen a card refer to the stack before. Okay. Whenever a spell or ability is put onto the stack, you have to reselect its targets at random, and I guess you have to count all the possible targets, and then I guess you roll a big die, or probably multiple die. It's interesting. It's interesting. It can mess with your opponents. I could see people running this, probably not an Heroic Thar, but anything where people are casting single targets on their stuff, you could run this. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know where this one would go for me. I wonder what kind of commander would want it. If you're ever in North Carolina, hit up anyone named Shun for games. Thank you, Orpheus and Shun. I appreciate it. If I'm ever in North Carolina, I will do that. Orpheus, I might just follow you right now. Yeah, let's do that. Thank you. Also, Mystic Reflection. Mystic Reflection. Thank you very much for sharing a card with me, Orpheus. Reflection. Orpheus? I mean, Mystic Reflection. Orpheus Reflection. Alright, this thing's $3. It's 2 mana. It's an instant. It's blue. And it says, choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. You can also foretell it. I actually love this. This is super duper interesting, and I would run this in a blue deck that cares about tokens. This is amazing. This works on tokens. More it doesn't care about non-token Yeah, so if you're gonna pop out a bunch of tokens, you could cast this thing like in response to that ability resolving, and then they're gonna enter as complicated tokens. I love it. I love that it's $3. The art is a vibe. This is a full win for me. And also, if you want to like plan it out for that foretell cost, you can plan it out to do it for 1 mana on a later turn. I love everything about this thing. This is really interesting. Okay. Okay, so the way it's worded, the next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. Okay, so what's really silly about this card is you could do it to your opponents. It appears you could do this to your opponents. So if you have a bunch of crappy creatures, or if you have a crappy creature... Nope, if there's a crappy creature on the battlefield and someone's about to plop down something really spicy, you could cast this in response and make their spell garbage. And that's so funny to me. I was thinking about doing it to ourselves to give ourselves complex tokens, but you can hurt your friends with it, and that seems more fun. I like this a lot. It's 10 out of 10 recommendation, Orpheus. Excellent. If you guys want to see any of the cards we talk about, check out the Moxfield link in the link tree. This is great, actually. $3, I might have to get me one of them. Custody Battle is Hutzler's favorite. Hutzler is a little bit notorious among my community for playing cards that upset me. So I'm a little bit of a casual baby. My playstyle is casual commander. I'm not doing infinite combos or like lockout games. I'm not taking infinite turns or even extra turns. And Hutzler is not that. So we're going to talk about this 2 mana enchant creature, mono red. So this is actually going to be referred to as an aura in modern day, but because of the old style of text and formatting, it says enchant. It's an enchantment. It's an enchantment aura. It's a 2-mana mono red aura for 80 cents. An enchanted creature has, at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent gains control of this creature unless you sacrifice a land. That's silly. This doesn't feel game breaking to me. I kind of like it. It feels really silly. And if someone really wants to keep their creature, they can sacrifice a land. If you slap this on somebody's Voltron commander, they're gonna kill you first. But they're gonna have to sacrifice some lands. And that feels really silly and engaging to me. Thank you, Hutzler. This one's really interesting. This one is really interesting. And at 80 cents, that's really cool. Actually, at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent gains control of this creature unless you sacrifice a land. Also, what's kind of silly about it is it says target. So, yeah, it also puts the ability on the creature. So the person who owns the creature is getting to resolve it. So they choose who they give it to if they want to give it away, which could be significant. They could do some politicking where they have the person they give it to agree to give it right back at their upkeep. That's something they could do. Or they could sacrifice a land, and that's also very silly, and players will remember that. And also, the reason it's not, like, it doesn't feel super duper punishing to me, it's one land. If it was multiple lands, I would not be so jovial about this. It's one land, it feels fair, and it is their choice. And so that kind of increases player agency, and those are the cards I really enjoy as commander. This gives your opponents a choice. Both choices are shitty, but it gives them a choice. So, I don't know. I like it a lot, actually. Dream Demon, I saw your Scramble verse earlier when we were looking at something else. Thank you very much for your patience, Dream Demon. I appreciate you. Scramble verse. All right, I do appreciate you, but I do not like this card. I'm going to explain why. It's a 8-mana, mono-red sorcery. It's a $1.15. It says for each non-land permanent, choose a player at random. Then each player gains control of each permanent for which he or she was chosen. Untap those permanents. So it changes control of everything on the battlefield, including tokens. I have never seen this card be resolved in like less than 5 minutes. I want to say 10 minutes, but that feels like a lot. This card takes minutes to resolve. It's a little, and for those reasons, I don't like the hater. I think it reduces player agency, and I don't like that. That's also why I don't like stacked pieces. Braid of Fire. We'll give you another one. Braid of Fire. Braid of Fire. Okay, this one's interesting. Hey everybody, I'm BGM. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on the last moments of TikTok. If you guys enjoy live deck building, please head on over to my Twitch. It's in the link tree if you'd like to continue doing this post and ban. If not, it's been real. And if you want to talk to me about commander cards you like playing, put them in the comments. This is Braid of Fire. It's a 2-mana mono red enchantment, and it's $17, y'all. But it gives you a cumulative upkeep of adding a red to your mana pool. That means that at the beginning of each upkeep, you put an age counter on this permanent and then sacrifice it unless you pay its upkeep cost for each age counter. But this thing's cumulative upkeep is giving you mana. So you're never, you know, you're not going to pay the cost. This thing's going to keep giving you mana throughout a game. But this thing will make you like at least 5 mana throughout the course of the game if it's not removed, because it's giving you more. So so you cast this on turn 2, turn 3 you make a mana, turn 4 it gets a second counter, it makes 2 mana, and then by turn 5 it made you a total of 6 mana. If it stays out for 3 turns, it's made 6 mana and it cost you 2. It's great, and if you get more than that, we're not going to do the math on it. It's excellent. It's $17. You don't need me to tell you it's good. But if you don't want to spend 87 cents instead of $17, I'd recommend a proxy. You can get one at printingproxies.com for 80 cents, I think. 80 cents. You were my commander. Aw, Armoons, thank you. I really hope that's for me and not some other commenter, and I'm butting in on your conversation. Sphinx of... Ace of Turtles says Sphinx of War. The Sphinx of War. Sphinx of War is a blue 6-drop, 50-cent flying Sphinx 5/5 with Shroud. Shroud means that it can't be the target of spells or abilities. That counts for us too. So we can't target this thing with spells or abilities we control. But it also says you may look at the top card of your library. It doesn't say we can play the top card of our library, but it says we can look at it. It's cool. It's a vibe. I like it. It's 50 cents. It's a relevant creature. It's a relevant body for its mana cost, and it feels good in Sphinx Tribal. It gives you incremental value. It doesn't let you cast the thing, which is a little bit of a non-bow for me, and it doesn't really give you card value, but it is a relevant body. Also, I love his Instagram filter. This is an excellent Instagram filter on the Sphinx. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Oh, you like Go Shintai. Oh, right, Go Shintai. So Go Shintai was actually just reprinted in the 20 Ways to Win Precon. Oh, God, are there too many There's probably too many Go Shintais. Yeah, we're looking for the mono of Life's Origin. That's right. Thank you very much, of Life's Origin. So Go Shintai of Life's Origin is an extremely popular commander, because it is the Shrine Commander. Thank you guys so much for the follows. I really appreciate it. If you like doing live deck building with me, and you like hearing me talk about cardboard that you guys that you put in the comments, please head on over to Twitch using my Linktree. Twitch isn't getting banned as far as I know, and I really appreciate you guys being here with me regardless. I'm BGM, and it's been a pleasure entertaining you here on TikTok. This is Go Shintai of Life's Origin. It's the 4-mana Shrines Commander. This is the new one that was just printed in the 20 Ways to Win Commander deck Precon Secret Lair. It's rad. This version itself is $5. And I actually got to play against the 20 Ways to Win Precon for 3 games last night. And I tell you what, it's a little bit funny, but it is all over the place. That deck, as like a deck, all over the place. And it doesn't have a lot of interaction from the games I played against it. But it's cool, it's a vibe, it's a Shrines deck that doesn't have Shrines. The other thing that's really cool about Go Shintai of Life's Origin is that you can pay 5 and you can return an enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield, making it a vibe. There's a lot of enchantments in the 20 Ways to Win Precon. It's great, y'all. Jelly says that they're enjoyer of Rakdos, Lord of Riots. Okay, Rakdos, Lord of Riots is a 4-mana, 6/6. You can't cast spells unless an opponent lost life this turn. That's intense. That's an intense stipulation. It's a flying trampler, and creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. I like this. I've lost to this. I lost to this a lot as a newer Commander player. I think this is one of the first or second versions of Rakdos to ever come out. It's a vibe. It's intense, yo, and it works really good. It's a really good commander. Part of the benefit of this commander is its mana cost. 4 mana is a lot, and it can be hard to get pips in the right colors. But your Rakdos deck is also running other creatures, and it needs to be doing damage. It's great. I've lost to it a ton. I remember it being frustrating. It's a relevant body in the form of a 6/6 flying trampler, and it's only $1. There are some other printings that are also really cheap as this as well. This printing with this frame treatment is from the Ravnica Remaster set that came out about 1.5 years ago. Muldrotha is a Sultai commander. It is the prototypical CDH Sultai commander. Muldrotha is 6 mana. It's an elemental avatar, and it was originally printed in the set Dominaria. Came out around the same time as Avengers Infinity War. It's 6 mana. It's a 6/6, and it says during each of your turns, you may play a land or cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. It's great. So the way a Muldrotha deck wants to run is it wants to run permanents that can either sacrifice themselves or, it wants to run permanents that can sacrifice themselves. So I had a friend who built Muldrotha, and I found the Muldrotha deck incredibly frustrating personally because they ran this little fucking frog called Spore Frog, and Spore Frog is a 1-mana mono green frog that you can sacrifice at instant speed to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. And Spore Frog sacrifices itself. So it works really good in Muldrotha, because Muldrotha lets you cast permanents of each type from your graveyard each turn. And so the way that I don't think I ever beat the Muldrotha deck, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I really hate Spore Frog so much. He had ways to tutor up the frog, and I just couldn't. I couldn't interact with it. I don't think I ever beat his Muldrotha deck. The other really, like, awful thing it did was something called Pernicious Deed. I don't know if you guys have ever played against a recurable Pernicious Deed, but, like, pack your shit up and go home and do anything else with your time. This is a 3-mana Golgari $5 enchantment. You can sacrifice it with X mana, and you destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with converted mana cost X or less. And he would recur this board wipe every turn. And it was just Spore Frog, Pernicious Deed. So if you could do combat damage, he'd grab the frog so you can't do combat damage. If you had creatures that brought you joy, he'd just recur Pernicious Deed to keep taking out. It was a miserable play experience, I'm not gonna lie. That's one of my... Not a lot of decks make me groan, but like Muldrotha with those two cards sure does. Enric, thank you very much for your Allurin suggestion. Allurin is not something I'm familiar with, but it's $43, and that's probably why. It's 4 mana, and it's a mono-green enchantment. And any player may play a creature card with total casting cost 3 or less whenever he or she can play an instant, and without paying for it. I love it. I've never seen it before. But this could be really, really fun. And because it's an enchantment, there are a bunch of tutors that you could use to find it, plop it onto the battlefield, and then you're spell-slinging little guys. I quite like that. I don't know if that's what people do with this. This seems pretty complicated. I'd recommend a proxy because it's $43. It's interesting, though. It's interesting. What kind of deck do you think Allurin goes in? Like, maybe the Hobbit deck because they have a bunch of little guys? If I was going to build around this enchantment, I would want my little guys to have enter the battlefield triggers so they do things at instant speed when I cast them. That's how I would want to do it, but I'm not sure what kind of commander that thing wants to live in. Interesting, though. Autumn, you say your favorite is Stormherd. Stormherd is an 8-mana, mono-white, $2 sorcery. And it says that we put X11 white Pegasus creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield, where X is our life total. It's a great little card. I run one in my big life-linking creatures deck because that one gives me a bunch of life, and this thing pays you off for having a bunch of life. It's a good card, y'all. Like it a lot. It's very fun. However... Oh wait, it's not 8 mana, it's 10 mana. That's right. It's hard to cast. You need a lot of mana to get the Stormherd to go off. And when it goes off, if you're towards the end of the game and you're already losing, you might only be making like 11 horses with this. So it is situational. It is a lot of mana, and if you're already on the back foot with a lower life total, it's not nearly as good, and it's still as much mana. But I like it. I've had good experiences. I've also had bad experiences where I make like 11 horses and it's not nearly enough. It's cool. It's cool. I like that it's only $1.50 to $2. Deadpan Face! I still don't know if that's what you want to be called, Deadpan Face. But thank you so much for hanging out with me a little bit on the last days of TikTok. Our theme tonight, we're not doing a commander. We're just talking about cards we like. TikTok, the vibes on TikTok today are tragic. Honestly, I make money on my platform and I don't want to lose the income, and it makes me sad. But tonight's the last day that I get to hang out with you guys and talk about cardboard. So the theme tonight, just tell me your favorite card, please. Let's have a little positivity while everybody's acting like a funeral. This is Mockingbird. This thing just came out in Bloomborough. I want to say in November. It's mono blue. It's a 1/1, and it says you may have Mockingbird enters a copy of any creature on the battlefield with mana less than or equal to the amount of mana spent to cast Mockingbird, except it's a bird in addition to its other types, and it has flying. It's great, y'all. It's great. I poo-pooed on this card earlier on a earlier live this week because it is a lot of mana. There are things like Mirror Image. Like Mirror Image does something similar, but it's 3 mana. It enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature you control. Wait, can Mockingbird do other people's creatures? Let's check if Mockingbird can do other people's creatures. Enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. No, yep, it can do other people's creatures. But if you want to get like a Blightsteel Colossus or an Eldrazi, you still got to pay its mana cost plus a blue. And for those reasons, I don't know. I vibe less. This thing is $8. This thing is $8, y'all. It may be because it's new. I don't know, yo. I don't know. It's not for me. Esimo! Varagoth. I don't know how that's said. Vargoth, the Blood Sky Saya, is a demon rogue from Kaldheim. He's a death-touching 2/3, and his boast mechanic says that your target player searches their library for a card. Then shuffles their library, puts it on top. That's just like that's yikesy. It's $6. It's a tutor stick. Notable among the way the boast activated ability works, you can only boast once per turn, I'm pretty sure. I think there's a reminder text down here. Activate only if the creature attacked this turn and only once per turn. So you gotta attack. I have a feeling it's not gonna be hard to attack because our guy has Death Touch. He's also 3 mana, so if he's our commander, he's coming out relatively early in the game. And he's got Death Touch, so we're probably not gonna have a problem getting that boast trigger. I vibe. I like him. I'm not a big fan of tutors, but he's a relevant body on a 3 mana with Death Touch. Millstone. PNW Rhino. Good to see you again, PNW. We're going to talk about a Millstone. Millstone is our next suggestion. Millstone. It is 2 mana. It's colorless. It's 40 cents. It's an artifact with an activated ability for 2 mana. You tap it. Target player puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard. This is great. I like it a lot. It's on an activated ability, which means that we can pay 2 mana, we can do it at instant speed, which means that other effects that care about stuff entering the graveyard, we can pick when that happens, because we can put cards in a graveyard with this thing. It's very cool. I see it a lot in mill decks. Not in mill decks. I don't see it a lot in mill decks, but things like Muldrotha, or like a Gitrog monster, I could see this thing in. For a little bit of self-mill. Also, that Onyxia enchantment thing that wants to fill its graveyard, that would be cool in that too. Oh, it's total mana value. My bad, Troncat. I reckon the blue is included. My bad on the Mockingbird. My TikTok totally lost connection. Dang, I didn't hear anything. I'm sorry, SMO. Rurik Thar. Rurik Thar is wonderful. I am a Rurik Thar truther. Rurik Thar is a great commander for all your friends who are not playing creatures. I love Rurik Thar. His triggers are really punishing. He's a vigilant reaching 6/6 for 6 mana, and when he attacks each turn if able, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Rurik Thar deals a damage to that player. I'm sorry, 6 damage, not 8 damage, 6 whole damage. Someone want to cast Brainstorm? 6 damage. Someone want to Cultivate? 6 damage. Somebody want to cast Sword to Plowshare? 6 damage. Somebody want to interact with Rurik Thar at instant speed? That's going to be 6 damage probably. It's great, y'all. It is so punishing. It will often unite a table against you in the right pods, which is interesting. Also, it is so fun. It is so fun, and it forces you to pay attention to other people's turns. It's good. I like Rurik Thar. I've never built Rurik Thar. I've played against a lot of Rurik Thars, and I didn't like playing against Rurik Thar a lot because it would stop me. Because Rurik Thar is just a creature deck, y'all. It's a creature deck in creature colors, and it's really good at blowing stuff up, and it's really good at just like putting down bodies that are relevant sized. Also, it likely has to run a kind of like elevated amount of ramp because it's a 6 mana commander, and Rurik Thar is gonna get got because if someone is playing Storm or like Artifact Storm, they want to get rid of Rurik Thar because those triggers will just kill him outright. Okay, Stolen Coil says that their first commander, Obsidat, Ghost Council. I am an Orzhov girly as well. I love Orzhov cards. They're my favorite. My favorite commander deck, period, full stop, is an Orzhov partner deck from Battle Bond. Oh, please. Okay, come on. Obsidat. Obsidat's not that hard to spell. D-A... I'm talking to myself. I'm not referring to your spelling. I'm just struggling. Okay, yeah, there we go. You spelled it wrong. No, I spelled it wrong. You spelled it right. My bad. Obsidian Ghost Council is a 5-mana Orzhov 5/5, and when it enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. And at the beginning of your end step, you may exile this thing. If you do, you return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next upkeep. It gains haste. Okay, this is interesting, but I gotta tell you what, though. It feels a little bit under-seasoned, like, to me. Probably because it's an older... Yeah, it's an older card, that's why. It's cool, though. If I was going to build this here Obsidian Ghost Council, I would do an Orzhov Blink deck or an Orzhov ETB deck. This thing already blinks itself, and it's got a little drain on it. We could also lean into life gain triggers, because when this thing enters, we gain a little bit of life. Guys, I'm not gonna lie, I've built a lot of Orzhov decks. Unless I was doing ETBs, if I was doing ETB triggers specifically, I would run this card, and I think that's the only place I would run this card. Unfortunately, just because of, like, power creep and the way that, like, design goes, they gotta design more intense cards. So power creep has unfortunately classed out this creature. It is a 5/5 for 5, which is relevant. It's got an ETB, and it can exile itself at our end step. Come back. I don't know, I just wish it was spicier. I wish it was spicier. Aaron S. says a Kibo Uktabi Prince. Kibu? Oh, that's the cat thing from the Caverns of Ixalan set. We're gonna pull up the Kibu Prince. Nope, I was wrong. I thought that was the Ixalan cat. This is the monkey. The monkey make mana rock banana. Monkey mana rock bananas. 3 mana. So this is actually a Naya creature. Because in its activated cost, it's got the red pip as well as the white pip. It has an activated ability. Tap it. Each player creates a banana. Mana, you tap the banana, sacrifice this artifact, you add a mana, and you gain 2 life. I'm sorry. That is a red and a green, not a white. What's wrong with me? Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard, like when they sack the bananas, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control that's an ape or a monkey. So this thing wants to be an ape and a monkey tribal deck, it seems like. And whenever Kibo attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact, probably banana. I like it. It's Gruul Monkeys. I don't think I've ever seen this thing before. This is interesting. It kind of cares about artifacts because it makes artifacts. It gives artifacts to everybody. That's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know what to make of it, though. It's cool. It definitely is a card that wants to be the commander. It's got a lot of abilities on it. It's got 2 triggers, and it's got 1 activated. The activated one makes the banana. It's cool. I don't know of any other... There's like 1 or 2 relevant ape or gorilla creatures that I know of. I'm not super versed. Hey, William Souza, good to see you. Olalondo the Seer. Olalondo the Seer. Hey, everybody. For the last possible night, we are going to be doing live deck building. We don't have a commander. I'm biggergayer Magic. For the last few months, I've been using green screen effects to make silly little Magic the Gathering content all over the internet, primarily on TikTok. Thank you for hanging out with me for live deck building. We're talking about cards that you guys want to talk about tonight. If you want me to talk about a card of yours, please put it in the comments. We'll pull it up over here. And if you see it come up over here, you can see all the cards we talked about tonight, which is TikTok's favorite cards. On the Moxfield page, there's a Moxfield deck list. It's the Goodbye TikTok deck list on the Moxfield page. That's in the link tree. So is my Twitch link if you come and want to hang out with me post-TikTok. This is Olalondo from Baldur's Gate. It's a 4-mana Simic commander, and this thing's got an activated ability. You tap it, you draw a card, and then you exile a card from your hand and put a number of time counters on it equal to its mana value. It gains when the last time counter is removed from this card. Cast it for free. Or it gains haste if it's a creature. Then you remove a time counter from each other cards. Basically, it's like a looting effect that can cast the things eventually for free. So this thing definitely wants to be the commander. You want to build the deck around this ability because you want to probably be able to untap this thing a bunch. If you can find a way to untap this guy a few times during a turn, you can just cast like 3 drops for free, which could be a total vibe. I like that a lot. I like that a lot, actually. I think this guy wants to be a commander, and I think he wants to get untapped a lot, and then he wants to tap again. Because when he taps, that's how you remove the time counters. They're not really suspend counters. They don't get removed at your upkeep. They get removed when you resolve his abilities. So you really want to be untapping our boy Orlando here. John Reynolds, good to see you. Hive Mind. Hive Mind. Have I seen Hive Mind before? Okay, wow. You know, this card's old, so it's definitely not... Wait, what the hell? This card's confused. This card hurts my eyes. In a positive way? This looks like a secret lair. Okay, whenever it's a 6-mana blue enchantment, that's how I read that font. And whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, each other player copies that spell. Each of those players may choose new targets for the copy. I like it. I'm going to tell you why. It's cool. It's fun. It's group hug. It gives everybody everything symmetrically. It's great. It's definitely a casual feeling card to me. Yeah, it feels like a casual card. Like, I would only play this in casual games. Like, this is not a CDH thing. This secret lair, though, does hurt my eyes. Also, I guess, like, if you cast a big enough, like, fireball or X damage spell and you hive mind it, I guess you could end the game, which could be very silly. That could be very satisfying. Achroma, Angel of Wrath. Achroma, Angel of Wrath. Achroma, Angel of Wrath is a 8-mana mono-white angel 6/6 for $5. It has flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black, and also from red. It's a relevant body. This thing's cool. Achroma Angel was your fave. Do you run this as your commander? Are you doing a mono-white Voltron strategy? This thing sure does have a lot of keywords. Flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste. That's a lot of keywords. Protection from black and from red. You know, that's relevant. And if it's your commander and it already starts with protection from black and from red, that's 40% of cards. That's excellent. I don't think I've ever seen a mono-white Achroma deck before. You also say that, oh wait, Carlos is fire. What did you say, Carlos? I must have missed it. Approach of the Second Sun. Oh my god, Void. Thank you so much, Void. Hello, everybody. Void is a longtime friend of the show. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the very last day, Void. It means a lot. It's good to see you. You say, though, an Approach of the Second Sun. And now I must shame you, Void, for how dare you? How dare you play an Approach of the Second Sun? Approach of the Second Sun is a 7-mana mono-white sorcery. It's almost $4. It was originally printed in Amonkhet, and it says, if Approach of the Sun was cast from your hand, and you've cast another spell called Approach of the Second Sun, this game, you win the game. Otherwise, you put Approach of the Second Sun into its owner's library, 7 from the top, and you gain 7 life. You know what could be, like, really silly and cheeky and, like, kind of, like, really silly? You could play this thing in a life gain deck, I just realized, because the first effect is just you gain 7 life. That could be relevant. I like it. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. That's a lie. That's a lie. I don't like this card. So, oftentimes, if someone can copy this spell... Well, actually, it says from your hand. So, oftentimes, people will just get this thing, and they'll cast it the first time and the second time on the same turn. It sucks. I don't like it. I don't like losing that way. I don't like it when they cast both of them on the same turn. If there's, like, one turn between them, that feels fair. Usually, though, when you're losing, it's like kind of a combo style. It's like this card and this card make you win with Approach of the Second Sun immediately. I don't know. It's not my favorite alternate win con to lose to, that's for sure. Best card ever, Niv Magus Elemental. Hands down. Niv Magus Elemental. The Niv Maggot. Okay, well, the art is in fact a vibe. I cannot deny this fucking rocks. It's a 1-mana 1/2, and it's an elemental, and it's got the hybrid frame. The hybrid frame is my favorite frame among any Magic the Gathering card ever, full stop. And this thing says exile an instant or sorcery spell you control, put 2 counters on it. Okay, cool. I don't hate that. So this thing feels more like a, feels less like a commander card to me. Feels more like a limited card, or maybe like sealed. It's from Ravnica. It's cool. The art is undeniably cool. It's 1 mana. It's aggressively costed. I feel like this would be a house in like 60 card formats. I bet this thing did great work in Standard. And if you have like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of these things on the battlefield, you can exile a spell and... Well, no, it would only put the counters on the one that activates the ability. But I imagine its home was in those formats. It's still... I love the art, though. The art is, in fact, a vibe. My favorite commander has become Socrates. Socrates. Yeah, I looked at your Socrates deck is intense. You are the one that posted the Socrates deck on the Discord server, right, Void? I believe that was you. It's a... Okay, so here we go. We got an Azorius commander. We've built a version of Socrates on live deck building. Hey, everybody, I'm BGM. I do live deck building. Usually, we have a commander to set our theme for tonight. But because it's TikTok's last day, I just want to hear about what cards you guys are excited to play and what cards you enjoy playing. If you want to put those in the comments, if I pull them up over here, you can check them out on the Moxfield page if it comes up over here. Thank you for hanging out with me on the last days of TikTok, y'all. It means a lot, and I've had a great experience here on TikTok. Socrates, though, he's a 0/4, he's a defender, and he has hexproof as long as he's untapped, but you have an activated ability on Socrates. You can tap him, and until end of turn, target creature gains. If a creature would deal combat damage to a player, prevent that damage. This creature's controller and that player each draw half that many cards rounded down. This thing's great. It reminds me a little bit of a Maze of Ith with card draw stapled to it, because it's removing the thing from combat, right? Nope, it doesn't remove it from Nope, it doesn't remove it from combat. It just says prevent the damage it would deal. Yeah, and you each draw some cards, 10 out of 10. I imagine with a Socrates deck, it could be very silly and fun to provoke your opponents to attack you, or just straight up ask you, like, hey, do you want to draw some cards? Attack me, I'll activate Socrates. We'll draw some cards, it'll be a good time. I vibe hard. I feel like you can take it in a group hug direction. That's not where Void took it. I believe so. Yeah, it's a vibe. It was printed in the Assassin's Creed. If you're wondering why Socrates, the Greek philosopher, is in your wizard, dragon, pirate, vampire game, it's because of Assassin's Creed. If you like my vibe, if you like talking about cardboard with me, please use the link tree to head on over to Twitch. As far as I know, that platform is not getting banned in a few days. Cypher Plus. Cypher Plus. Cypher Plus, that can go infinite. Okay. Hey, I'm just here. Hey, just here to warn you, chat. Oh, yeah. Go do my mainly very creative card. Hawkeye. What'd you say, Hawkeye? Yeah, I took it in the group slug card draw direction, Void says. Oh my gosh, we are out of suggestions, y'all. If you have any of your favorite Magic the Gathering cards that you want to put in the chat, we'll pull them up over here. If it gets pulled up over here, it can be put into a deck list. Oh, Dash Hopes! Mac says a Dash Hopes. Dash Hopes is our next suggestion. I don't think I'm familiar with a Dash Hopes. Dash Hopes is a common 99-cent 2-mana mono black sword instant. And it says you may play Dash Hopes. Any player may pay 5 life. If a player does counter Dash Hopes, counter target spell. It's a mono black counter spell. This is crazy. I've never seen a mono black counter spell before. It's interesting though, and I feel like it's a little bit less impactful in a game of Commander because of the high life totals in Commander. But other than that, you know, it's interesting. If you're playing a Sholdred the Apocalypse deck and you're like trying to make your opponent's life totals low anyway, this thing could be very interesting. I imagine that most times you counter, or I imagine most times that you cast your Dash Hopes, it's gonna get countered because anybody can counter it, right? Any player can pay 5 life and counter this thing. I imagine it's less. I imagine it's a lot better in a 20 life format where it's one-on-one. But it's very silly, and I had a lot to say about it. Thank you very much, Mac, for the suggestion. Very cool. All right. Okay. Well, I'm going to talk about a card I like. So, in my adventures on TikTok, I met someone named Lot the Unfinished Project, and I have a Raga Draga deck. I really enjoy my Raga Draga deck. I have it in paper right here. It's great. It's a 4-mana human boar, and it says that each creature with a mana ability gets +2/+2, and whenever a creature you control with a mana ability attacks, you untap it. It's kind of like Vigilance with that ability. And whenever you cast a creature, and whenever you cast a spell, if at least 7 mana was spent to cast it, you untap target creature, it gains +7/+7, and trample until end of turn. So basically, the way that my build of Raga Draga is run is I run a bunch of creatures that tap for mana equal to their power, and I do that because when you tap them that way, you cast a big spell, you get a Raga Draga trigger to give it +7/+7, trample, and you untap the creature. So you get the creature to tap for 3 because he gives a little +2/+2 bonus there. Creature taps for 3. You use 4 mana from other places. You cast a big drop spell. You get the trigger. You give +7/+7 to the creature. The creature now taps for 10 mana. And you just keep going, and you keep casting bigger and bigger X spells. You get a card draw outlet, and you cast the deck. My Raga Draga I would consider CEDH because that is its win con. Its win con is getting enough mana to cast the deck. It doesn't make infinite mana, but it essentially makes infinite mana, and it's my only CEDH deck right now, actually. I like it. It's very cool. I actually fine-tuned it from a casual deck into a CEDH deck, and now I have a CEDH deck. BCM Raider! So Goreclaw. Goreclaw is rad. Thank you for the suggestion of Goreclaw. Goreclaw is a rad little mono-green bear. And he says that creatures are cheaper. Creature spells you cast with power 4 or greater are 2 less to cast, and whenever your Goreclaw, Terror of Qualsisma attacks, each creature you control with power 4 or greater gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. It's great. I imagine this thing is a House and a Ruric Thar deck. We pulled up Ruric Thar a few cards ago, and that thing only cares about creatures because it punishes people when they cast non-creature spells. This thing's cool. It's a vibe. It makes your big creatures cheaper, and it makes your big creatures tramply and a little bit bigger. I like it a lot. It's a $1.50. It's a value 4-drop. It's an uncommon. It got a bunch of reprints. I vibe. I vibe hard. I think it was originally printed in 2019. Please correct me if I'm wrong, BCM. Pro Polls says that Ashaya. Ashaya. Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, is a 5-mana mono-green elemental star power toughness. And its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. Non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. When they're forest lands, that means that they can tap for mana. This is great. So it makes your creatures lands. It cares about having a bunch of lands. It's $8. It got a reprint in the Duskmourn expansion, but I'm pretty sure this thing was originally printed in a set called Magic Origins about 10 years ago. It's great. It's a big lady. It's also heavily lore related to Nissa if you're a Vorthos person. It's the spirit of Zendikar itself, pretty much. Nissa befriends it. Athreos. Athreos, the god of passage. Athreos is a rad card, actually. I enjoy Athreos. I have a single of Athreos. He's a 3-mana legendary enchantment creature with indestructible. And as long as your devotion to white and black is less than 7, Athreos is just an enchantment and not a creature. Whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless an opponent pays 3 life. So, Athreos is a very popular commander for a Shadowborn Apostle strategy. This is because one of the #1 commander content places is the Command Zone, and Josh Lee Kwai ran the Shadowborn Apostle deck with Athreos, and he did a really good job of making the deck look incredibly fun. Shadowborn Apostle is a 1-mana mono black creature, and it's relentless, meaning that you can have any number of Shadowborn Apostles in it. It's got an activated ability where you pay 1 mana, you sacrifice 6 Shadowborns, you find a demon, you slam it onto the battlefield. And because Athreos cares about when stuff dies, and 6 Shadowborn Apostles die, you slam down a demon. Someone can choose to lose 6 times. Someone can choose to lose 18 life, or they can let you have the Shadowborn so that you can do it again for 7 mana and pimp out another demon. It's crazy. That's Josh Lee Kwai's fault. I haven't seen a lot of other Athreos builds, if I'm being totally real with you guys. It's a vibe, though. I like it. I run it in my Nixthia Enchantments precon that I upgraded and that I'm slowly taking apart for parts. My favorite... Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about my favorite deck since we got some homies here. My favorite commander deck is a partner deck. It's Krav and Ragna. Krav is a 5-mana mono black demon with an activated ability. You pay 1 mana, you sacrifice any number of creatures, you draw cards, gain life, and put +1/+1 counters on our boy Krav here, equal to the amount of creatures you sacrifice with his activated ability. Notable among that is the life gain that you're getting off the activated ability, because his partner is Ragna. Ragna is a 6-mana mono white angel 4/4, and it gives us an end step trigger on every end step, not just our end step. So we want to be activating Krav to gain life on other people's turns, because when we do that, we make 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens, and then we can sacrifice them to Krav. The way that my deck works is that it runs aristocrats, triggers, like, what's the one? Zulaport Cutthroat. So my build is built around making a bunch of tokens and then sacrificing them to Krav at instant speed with his ability so that I can use the Zulaport Cutthroat-like effect, have a bunch of creatures die, create a bunch of death triggers, and drain out the whole table. Usually without having to go to combat, which is something I really enjoy about my Krav and Ragnar deck. Krav and Ragnar is my favorite deck. Aristocrats is my favorite strategy. Void, thank you so much. Alright, guys. We are going to take a break. I hope to see you guys. I'll be back on in a little bit before midnight to say goodbye. Once again, I am biggergayer Magic. I made green screen effects, MTG TikToks to entertain you guys, and thank you so much for being here with me. If you want to see any of the cards we talked about, check out the Moxfield page in the link tree. And take care for now, TikTok.